The ideas that gave birth to our nation are the ideas that our nation is resistant to right now, and we should talk about that all the time.
In a world where narratives are shaped by corporations and gatekeepers, independent voices matter more than ever. Badlands Media brings together citizen journalists, researchers, and independent thinkers.
The truth is triggering.
Question the narrative. Explore the facts.
Its authenticity, courage, resilience.
Search for the truth others won't.
It's not about being first or being right.
The information war is changing.
It's about being authentic.
Embrace the friction.
Embrace the friction.
Shut the f*** up.
Authentically and agonizing. Join the movement.
I'm going to say how I feel.
Follow Badlands Media.
This is about the future.
The Badlands. What are the Badlands? Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
All right, good morning, Badlandia. Welcome to Badlands Daily.
It really feels like the cat with the laser pointer. It's like you led the cat up to the top of the building and now you're leading it over the edge.
President Trump is rebalancing trade around the world and making things more fair for the American people.
I think that anytime the deep state can like over-capitalize in whatever situation they have, they're going to.
But the rest of it is a very well-organized and well-funded color revolution operation of the type they run all over the world again and again and again to destabilize entire society.
Echoes carried on the wind. We stepped into a moment where a nation would begin. Powder smoke and rising banners, voices ringing through the flame. We rode the currents of tomorrow, found the dawn of freedom's flame. Raise the flame of revolution, let the old world hear us roar. Freedom rides on every heartbeat, marching louder than before. From the Delaware to glory, soft disclosure.
All right, good morning, Badlandia, and welcome to Badlands Daily. I should just throw it out there, just welcome to Why We Vote. Welcome to Why We Vote. It's Ash Wednesday, joined by Ash. How you doing?
Love that song. I'm doing great. It is, all shows are Why We Vote now, but Brian texted me this morning. This show this morning might be the most significant Why We Vote we've ever done. Oh, there you go. Let's see.
Ash, I can't believe they did it again. They did it again. This is going to be, I don't know. I think this could be the quote unquote proverbial shot heard around the world. And we've got a very special guest that's going to join us. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's been a whole bunch of those moments where we're like, oh, well, this is the moment where people are going to realize that the fake election system does fake election things and delivers fake outcomes. And we don't actually have elections. We have theater. But every time one of those things happens, there's some sort of way to write it off. So I'm not holding my breath. I am on the real elections rug. I just don't know if this is the thing, but I like your optimism. Find it very comforting, actually.
Well, let's get right into the show. I want to hit our sponsors here, guys, and welcome to Benson Honey Farms, where every jar is pure gold. Benson's Honey is excited to be back on Badlands Media with their honey harvest straight from their Nebraska farm. While they've been busy working to improve their state politics from the ground up, they never forget the importance of sharing the best honey around. Did you know that honey is not just a sweet treat? It's nature's medicine. It's perfect for alleviating allergies, soothing upset stomachs, or as a delicious natural sweetener for baking. Benson Honey is never heated, ensuring that you receive it in its pure, raw form, full of natural goodness. At Benson Honey Farms, quality and purity is top priority, and they're committed to providing the finest honey from hive to home. Visit badlandsmedia.tv/honey and use promo code BADLANDS to get 20% off your purchase. Benson Honey Farms, savor the authentic taste in Nebraska and support the America First businesses. Follow on Facebook at Benson Honey Farms and on TikTok at Mo Benson Honey, please. That's MOE. You can also check them out on episode 1 of America First Stories.
That's right. And if you haven't checked out America First Stories, rumble.com/badlandsmedia, go to the playlists option and you'll find the America First playlist. And Benson Honey is the very first episode. But there's a bunch of really cool people that sponsor Badlands Media. And you can learn more about all of them on the America First Stories playlist.
All right, Nash, you want to talk about our friends over at Earth Echo?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I'm drinking my hot chocolate this morning. This episode is brought to you by Cacao Bliss from Earth Echo, a ceremonial grade cacao drink with 7 superfoods to quiet your, I lost my place, to quiet your appetite. There it is. And protect your heart. There's only 2 foods on the planet with a specific compound that keeps your arteries young and your stem cells high, and your metabolism cranking. One is black truffles. The other tastes like chocolate. Researchers have spent decades studying why a tribe in Panama had virtually no heart-related problems, no age-related weight gain, and no cardiovascular health. And they had cardiovascular health that defied everything we know about aging. The answer kept coming back to this one compound. It's called epicatechin, and it's found in chocolate. Yes, that superhuman tribe was found to be drinking chocolate all day long, 5 cups a day. 5 cups of chocolate a day. And this stuff is so good. You could drink 5 cups of it a day. The catch is that the supermarket chocolate, it's overcooked and it's processed to hell. It's chemically stripped of its epicatechin. That's why I have been drinking raw ceremonial cacao, aka real chocolate, which keeps epicatechin fully intact. Cacao Bliss from Earth Echo is the one that I've been drinking because it also has 7 organic superfoods and it tastes like hot chocolate, like the hot chocolate you'd get at a 5-star hotel. Learn more and get your special discount and free shipping today at trycacaobliss.com. That's CACAO bliss.com/badlands. Bit of a struggle bus on that ad read. Apologies.
That's okay. It happens. It's early in the morning. We'll forgive you. It's like earlier for you than it is for me. So
8, which is still
all right, guys. Smash that thumbs up if you have not done so already, and let's get right into it. So there was an election last night all across the country. There were a lot of elections, not every single place across the country, but yeah, smash that thumbs up, share the show out. This is going to be a banger right here, guys. And I want to go to Wisconsin, and we're going to start out with Wisconsin, and we're going to focus.
Wisconsin.
Yeah, okay. Wisconsin. You here to make fun of that too? Come on now. Jeez Louise.
My favorite is when you say museum.
Let's start with the coverage. 2 clips here that I want to focus on. This first clip, and these are in order, chronological order. And by the way, I love the coverage here. We got the Kornacki cam, like making this guy a celebrity. Like this guy is like, I feel like he's got Fauci vibes in that he's a celebrity and he's so like, yeah, they're focusing on me. I got my own little thing here. The Kornacki cam up there at the top. He's got his sleeves rolled up. He's wearing his New Balances instead of his loafers. You know, like he's ready to go and grind.
Battle.
The battle, exactly. Like he's hard work. He's in the sweat tank, right? So
this is his Super Bowl though, or his playoffs anyway. This is his playoffs, right?
Here we go.
Wow. Now, do we know, are we in the city? Are we in the county? Can we tell here?
Taking a look.
Okay. What I just said a minute ago, this is super, super interesting. Because demographically, this is the kind of place that Hong should be doing well. And this is going to be the number 2 vote producer in the state tonight. And it is, though, Crowley's political base. But it's, that's almost half the vote in Milwaukee County that just came in. Adam's trying to figure out here. Oh, while Adam's looking at that, we got Brown County. Okay, we said now this is Brown County, Green Bay, the Bow counties. We said this is this.
Okay, so we're talking about the David Crowley, Francesca Hong race for governor, for the Democrat governor, who, Tony Evers is the governor right now. He's a Democrat. The state did go for Trump in 2024. It also went for him in 2020, although they didn't report that. And it went for him in 2016. But they have a Democrat governor. And so, there's a good chance that whoever wins this race will end up being that nominee. Hong is the DSA adjacent. I don't know if she's full-blown DSA or not, but she's the DSA adjacent candidate in this race. And so Kornacki is having a struggle session right here, looking at this data. And, you know, I'm not going to pretend like I know what's going through his mind on that, but something has him kind of like, what's going on here? Like, this is not right.
Seemed unexpected, right? Do they have closed primaries?
That's a good question. If you want to fact check
I'll look it
that
up,
real quick. Let me save my tab here. So they've got that. Okay. So here's the second clip. And this was a couple like an hour later. And listen to how kind of kerfuffled he is here.
Okay. Wow. What the heck just came in Brown? Which was that that was huge for her.
Yeah, so that was about 18,000 votes. And she nets 2,000.
Question. Was that wasn't central count, was it?
It's possible. There's no remaining vote in Brown according to our counter. I'll check the website.
I said I want percent more, but now I do, because if that was central count, what was his percentage of that vote?
Let's take a look.
If this was central count, this is the question we're getting at from Milwaukee. If he just got buried in central count Green Bay,
it was 44-34. Hong over Crowley.
Okay. Yeah. Can we ask our decision desk what we think that was that just?
Yeah.
And do we think there's central count left for?
So
very discombobulated. You're right about that.
Very discombobulated,
according to the machine.
Yes. So you have a situation now where it appears that Hong, who is the DSA candidate in this thing, is winning at the central count, which is where the establishment makes up their ground. And he's very discombobulated about what he's seeing there. So let's now get into this thread here from Jeremy Janeni. And he is he's the co-founder of Urban Milwaukee, covering City Hall and all things Milwaukee, the city of Milwaukee. And he was live there for the election last night. And he says the 28,000 absentee votes that remain to be reported in the city of Milwaukee are likely to determine the gubernatorial race between Crowley and Hong. They are likely to be reported in one dump around 11 p.m. One dump, 11 p.m. And then he goes on to say the tabulation is nearly finished, then exporting from machines onto flash drives, and then driven to the county courthouse, and then uploaded into the county system. Buckle up.
You might. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. What?
You might say that in Wisconsin they have a flair for the dramatic.
You're stealing my thunder.
I was just
bipartisan commission and Milwaukee election staff signing off downloaded totals from tabulators. No one can see votes by candidates, just the totals cast. Next comes the drive to Milwaukee County Courthouse and the upload. Then it starts getting spicy. 28,000 Milwaukee absentee ballots headed to the courthouse. We should know results in about half an hour. And state laws prohibit. So this was a question somebody asked. Why do they count the absentee ballot last and have to transport them at 11 p.m.? And Jeremy says state law prohibits processing until the polls open. The city has repeatedly lobbied to change this because of the volume, and they can come in until polls close. The process takes a long time. Republican-controlled legislature has refused to change the laws. And then the magic happens. The flair for the dramatic. The Claire Woodall Vogue. We are officially determining that this is the Claire Woodall Vogue. We are naming it that as an official moniker now. Huge update. 5 out of 9 USB drives had audit logs, not actual results, copied to them. Bipartisan commission will go back to election warehouse. They'll re-download. They'll drive back again. 15,000 ballots believed to be impacted. 1 hour delay. Quote unquote, human error, says Paulina Gutierrez. And let me go ahead and play that clip here, and then we'll bring our guest up.
What we uncovered was that 5 of the sticks had the audit log downloaded and not the results. It's a human error. These things can happen. So basically what we need to do is go back to the operations center, and we're going to download out of those 5 machines the results and make sure that's not the audit log. So We have the reports printed from the first download. We're going to reprint and start the process so that we can compare those results. We invite you to come join us. The police department will come with us too. And so we'll re-download those results and then send them back here to be uploaded.
5 machines are at issue?
Correct. Not the machines, the sticks. So the download process was the audit log was downloaded, not the results.
Out of how many sticks?
9.
And so you will only be reviewing those 5 sticks.
Correct.
But we can't know all of the results, and we can't see these 4 sticks worth of results that were done correctly.
Can you?
All right. So 5 out of 9 USB drives downloaded the audit logs and not the vote results. Joining us to unpack this, what we're being told, the narrative that we're being told by these folks, we've got voting system elections expert, voting system expert, Clay Parikh joining us. Clay, you are muted. Don't forget that. How are you doing, sir?
I was doing good till some crazy reporter interrupted my breakfast, but
he does that.
you know,
I
with
did.
some breaking news. But no, I'm doing good. This is a whopper, but damn, Brian, you hit me. So Brian's not a mortarman, he's a machine gunner. He hits me with one thing, I start to look it up, and he hits me with something else, and it totally messing with my mind because I was thinking, you know, one voting system, but I'll save it and wait till we get to it. But
So this morning I'm seeing this report, and immediately, Clay, I jump in. I'm like, what machines do they use in Milwaukee? And I see it's the ES&S. And I know Dominion machines, well, now Liberty Vote. I know those machines very well. And immediately when I heard the explanation that was being given there, I was like, that's impossible. That is absolutely impossible. That
Which
only
part?
the audit logs. That only the audit logs were transferred to the USBs. And this is something I talked with, Kevin in Georgia. I talked with many people in Georgia numerous times because they alleged the same thing happened down in Georgia. And so I didn't know ES&S. And so I called Clay right away because he's the guy. He's got, 9 years as a tester. He's hacked into the ES&S, the Dominion. He's hacked into all of these systems.
Lawfully.
He's tested them as a contractor for Pro V&V in the past. And I wanted to get his take. So Clay, is it possible?
It's possible. It's highly improbable though, because there would have been errors on the DS200s, DS300s, or any of the other crappy ICC. I'm going to say ICC, the central ones, because for ES&S, it's a DS450 and 850, which is a big hunking piece of crap. But so, Brian, did you get the one graphic I sent you?
I did not. I will get it though.
Yeah, throw that up.
And just to be clear,
and this is how Bodam. This is from ES&S documentation, and I just really don't care anymore. So, hey, each and every time a ballot is scanned, it's written to that USB drive in the ES&S case. That's where it stores it. And so, what you have to understand, and I'm going to talk in general because we'll cover Dominion as well. These tabulators are limited in their firmware and their operation, and I'm going to say operating system that's on them. They usually have an internal drive, small compact flash or something to that effect that's on the system. It's limited. It verifies everything for the election project that's given to it via removable media, which is a USB in ES&S's case, a compact flash card in Dominion's case. Those are where the brains are at. It's also the storage where the election gets written to. To go to Georgia real quick, remember, because Georgia claims they get filled up and they remove them after about 600 ballots, which is bull crap because they can hold up to 10,000 images. And I've done the mathematics surrounding the technical functions of that to prove them wrong. So that said, everything gets written. If Brian can throw up that graphic, there's proof that after each ballot is scanned, what does it say? Where's it written to? You use the USB flash drives. And I put it from an older one, so I get less chance of getting in trouble. It says the 1 to 8 gigabyte capacity. And so what I'm telling you is it's written to that drive. There's 2 USB drives that go in. It's written there and it's copied over. So that excuse that only system logs were written is bullcrap. And we won't get into the rest of it because I'm sure there's going to be some investigations, but there's a whole lot of information I would like off those systems.
Okay,
so this is
hang on a second, just because the audience in the chat is a little bit lost, and I think it's important to make it clear what we're talking about. So the results in Wisconsin were of the 9 flash drives, 5 of them or 6? 5 of them.
5 of the 9.
5 of the 9 had audit logs downloaded instead of actual results. So the net effect of this is no.
Why are you lying, Ash? Because
I'm not. I'm trying to understand.
They did logic and
went
accuracy.
immediately
They did
into
logic
the
and
weeds.
accuracy tests on the equipment, and everything functioned as normal.
Okay, now you're making a joke. But for logic and accuracy test is always a joke. But so so at the net effect of this base without any other thing is it bought them more time. Right. They can't report the final results of the election because of this human error. And when you're to talk about whether or not this is plausible or you said it's possible, but it's probably not plausible. You're talking about it just being a human error that the audit logs instead of the results were downloaded onto the sticks. Correct.
Right. It's extremely. Look, I'm not an Andrew Burkett or Walter Daughtry. Those are your mathematics guys that can get it down to a fine tooth comb. That is highly improbable. Could it happen? Yes. It's highly unlikely because here's the thing. Because of Brian, I'm running through TDP, the technical data packages early this morning to verify, because I know this is recorded. So I'm clearly already a target enough as it is. I don't need to be incorrect. So I look at things, and I'm telling you, I could have went into the technical errors that you get on the display screen to show you, and that would further lose all of you. Not being insulting, but it's the error codes that get displayed. The DS200 or whichever ES&S tabulator would have shown an error if it could not write to the drive, and the election wouldn't have moved forward until they figured out what was wrong. The tabulator would have went down. They could have put in a reserve one. There's all kind of other things that happens. What I'm telling you is this is a bold-faced lie. Now, was it human error or was it human interference? That's my thing. Because again, I sort of correct myself. These machines do exactly what they're built to do.
So let me, Clay, for those that don't understand the process that goes on here, when you're at the precinct level, these machines are tabulating votes, right? They then write them to the card. The card is then transported to the central count. They're uploaded into essentially the central count system, which in this case would be the ES850 or 450.
And to a point, unless there's other options because of the internal modems.
Would
you like me to show you that from the documentation?
Fair enough. But my point is here, and again, maybe you can expand on this with ES&S. But I know with Dominion, let me backtrack. I don't know, but I'm almost positive that on Dominion, when you do that process, when you put the USB in to get to extract the information, the voting results, it is defaulted automatically to put all of that information on the USB stick. You have to manually deselect the vote records. And so when they say that 5 out of the 9 counties did not transmit the vote records on ES&S, would that be the same thing where somebody had to deselect the vote records to be uploaded onto the USB?
Yes. And again, when you're talking at that level, so let's go back to something that affects every state, not just Wisconsin. Who programmed those USBs? I can tell you for a fact in the state of Alabama, which is 100% ES&S, they go to ES&S. I've had probate judges, the lead election officials in our county say, hey, I don't have any USBs to show you. They went back. The vendors are programming these. If they're programming them, I guarantee you, they're programming them all at once in accordance with the quickest expedient way in software development. right, and deployment. And so therefore, for a human error to misconfigure 5 of the 9 USBs, no, I'm sorry, I'm not buying it. It's wrong. Everything gets written there for a reason. And Brian, to your point, even if I use the internal modems, when it sends and transmits it, it's pulling the copy from the USB. And to clarify to the audience, when Brian was talking to Dominion and he said USB, Dominion is compact flash and ES&S is USB, right? Same thing, removable media. That's all you need to know. That's where that's the brains and that's the storage of the tabulators, period. Doesn't matter the vendor.
The reason earlier on that I called this the Claire Woodall Vogue is because this is deja vu. And this same thing happened in the 2020 election. And of course, we were all called conspiracy theorists for saying, you know, there's something going on here. This was a November 13th, 2020 headline from the Gateway Pundit. Milwaukee elections chief lost election flash drive in morning hours of November 4th when Democrats miraculously found 120,000 votes for Joe Biden. Now, this case wasn't they didn't lose them. That would have been way too obvious. But in this case, they essentially lost them because they didn't contain the data that they needed. And the last thing to what Ash was saying earlier, this was an email between the elections group, Ryan Chu of the elections group, and Claire Woodall Vogue that said, I wanted to say that I'd been awake for full 24 hours. Claire Woodall Vogue writes. Ryan Chu writes back, damn, Claire, you have a flair for drama, delivering just the margin needed at 3 a.m. I bet you had those votes counted at midnight and just wanted to keep the world waiting. It's funny how that works. So that's the first story. And again, you know, Clay, I apologize for ruining your breakfast this morning.
Hey, look, no, this is important because again, it's the only reason I don't watch the mainstream media news anymore. If I want because you guys suffer through knowing what's hitting, and it is important because the thing is this is another a typical excuse that they expect you to buy it. But hey, look, we said this. It's a bold-faced lie. There's no way.
Well, and see, Clay, that's the problem with media today is nobody goes beyond just what the authoritative source tells them. Had I been present in that room or had anybody that had the knowledge, like as soon as I saw that, immediately I started calling people. I to be fair, I called Kevin first, and then immediately right after that, I called you. And the only reason I called Kevin is because we talked about this exact issue on the other machines.
Call Clay first.
Well, it's because I've already discussed this issue, which is why I knew the questions to ask.
Hey, Ash, it's okay because guess what? I'm going to be meeting with Kevin later today to talk about some things. Because again, as my wife reminded me at breakfast, well, you got to remember, you know, Brian could be our son. He said, you know, so you're just a kid, Brian, and I expect it. And I'm just like Kevin. Kevin's a little bit older, but he still needs some guidance when it comes to these systems and how to approach this. Because again,
I have a question.
Just let me make this before we move on.
Real quick, my point
was not only have I seen it from the BSTL, right? And as a conspiracy theorist, I've also seen it from the federal side. So who else? Who else has all those perspectives and knows a whole lot of things that a lot of people don't? I'm just saying. So Ash, next time slap him and make sure he calls me first.
I will do it. Any excuse to slap Brian. When you said that the removable media is programmed, configured by the vendors, is that how the process is designed? Because that sounds like it would be one of those checks and balances baked into the system where the system, you know, the vendors design certain aspects of the system, and then the Secretary of State's office or the county or whomever, they have a piece of the process that, you know, so we have these, in theory, we have these separate points, but I'm still stuck on the fact that this bought them more time to figure, and you know, when we saw like in Arizona with drawer 3, a lot of speculation that the whole purpose of that was to buy more time and move the process off site. We're seeing the same thing happen here, right? It stops the process, stops the count, and they have, we have to go somewhere in a dark room and count the election results, and you guys can watch us stick the USBs in the machine, but nobody can see what the code is doing. What do you think about is the process designed that way that the vendors would configure the removable storage?
No, because here's some of the things that I went through. I went through the standard operating procedures for the components. And here's the thing, there's user guides that they give. These systems are supposed to be built and sold to a county, right, at the county level. And those guides that are written are to instruct the county on how to perform to go through an election project. But here's the thing in the marketing pitch. The vendors all say, oh, well, don't worry, we can do that for you. We'll train you. But in nearly all of the states that they operate in, they actually do the stuff. And they do it in Alabama where it violates our state constitution. And that's not the general setup. The vendors have just, guess what? It's more taking your money and taking control away from the people that are supposed to be running the elections. And again, I'm making my educated guess on Wisconsin, and I guarantee I'm probably right. If their county officials actually did program them, then here's the other thing. Within the process, you put in the USBs and they get loaded for each component because they'll go in different voting jurisdictions, precincts or vote centers or whatever, and they're all going to be configured with the same data. You telling me that there was a read-write issue that caused it not to happen? Are they specifically and that's the thing in developing, and I know I'm jumping, and Brian, you can yell at me, but it's like Brian said, in this process, you can't have user error because the election projects created, all the tabulator configuration files are created. You just upload them to that. If you're telling me you're in the election project, oh, I'm not going to store them here for this, I'm going to use the modems or something weird, that doesn't happen. No way. I'm not buying it.
Maybe for after the show in a follow-up like X post or something, do you have any of the manuals where you can show the prompt when that process takes place when you upload to the USB?
Look,
or am I asking for classified information because you can't have oversight into your election systems?
It's not classified, but
it's IP. How you select your elected officials is intellectual property.
I share a lot of stuff and I do things, but remember, I signed NDAs with the labs, with secretaries of states for state certification. Especially California, that wackadoodle back then. So I just felt that this is something that I'll do and worry about it. And so far, I haven't had to worry because for some reason they won't ever attack me or take me, right? And I'm talking from a legal perspective. It's just like right now, my ongoing issue with Texas and the Office of the Attorney General, and me having to keep my mouth shut while they're telling Texans things I said, which I did not say, and I can't refute them. That's a whole different thing. And so I love the fact that you're covering it from this perspective, Brian, because this is not showing favoritism to any party, because all the parties are wrong, in my opinion. Especially the R's are they're worse than the Democrats.
Agreed.
The Democrats are playing their role as the leftist evil, right? So anyway, I'm sorry about that, but yeah, I can't. I'm not. I did an X space a couple of nights ago, and I did not record it on purpose because, believe me, I've got a large enough target on my back, especially after the Georgia stuff,
This is the opposite of partisanship. This is, I posted this morning. I posted this morning, misery acquaints a man with strange bedfellows, because this is the Democratic Socialists of America that are being ripped off here, that are being disenfranchised. Yeah. And again, I have no partisanship in that. My point, Clay, in saying that you have an NDA, and do not comment on this. Like, I don't want you to, whatever. But, saying something like that and then sitting here and watching crimes being committed, potentially, or at least not, maybe not crimes being committed, but you're having the American people lied to about one of their rights, the right to vote, and how that vote is being tabulated, and having people stand up there and give you known falsities is crazy.
It is. And look, I can tell you though, I have one NDA, and we won't even, because I don't even want to get into Mojave research and DEF CON, finding out what went on there. That's a whole nother, oh gosh, you don't know. So again, the oath I most recently took and the NDAs that I signed there are that. What I will tell you is, in my duties in that capacity, I can break other NDAs. And I was told that. And believe me, that's before I signed the stuff with freaking Texas. I made sure, even though Texas was my private capacity completely, right? So anyway, let's get that straight on the record. So that's a big thing. I just am not going to post more stuff out there than needs be, because it just makes it harder for me, and I have enough going on. I'm being asked for cases, one at a federal level, that I'm hesitant because because of my government experience.
So let's, before we move on to the next facet of this story of Wisconsin, not this story, but of Wisconsin, let's just put a bow on this real quick. Wisconsin, Milwaukee County elections comes out and says 5 out of 9 USB cards transported only had the audit logs, did not have the voter records. What's your final say on that, Clay?
One, I guarantee there's no chain of custody records. I want to see that both this were done. To claim human error is a total lie. And we sort of talked about what I want to see, Brian, and we're not going to discuss that here, because that needs to be held secret, operational security people. And so it's a bold-faced lie. The county's coming up with an excuse, and don't believe it. Just don't believe it.
And just to that point, I think what you said is that the excuse that they're providing, that it was human error, that the audit logs instead of the results were downloaded or whatever, that's possible to have happened, but it would have triggered a bunch of errors and other things in the system that there should be a log for, that they should, if it's true, what they're saying, that it was human error, that's how this happened, they should be able to produce the things you're talking about in terms of the errors that would have occurred for those USBs to end up with just the audit results on them. Yes?
Yeah, because where would the results be? If you don't put them on the USB, where are you putting them? That's the big thing, to say that, oh, could they have possibly been on?
So does that mean the download happens at the same time and they would have had to delete the results off of the USB?
What Brian just showed you is that it's written to the storage after each scan. People, right. You have to understand that. I'm not going to get into it, because I'm not going to expose, because guess what? There'll be work behind the scenes to cover stuff up. And so I don't want to get in the detail of that. What I will tell you is people need to understand, and this is what I love, because we're arguing for a party which I greatly oppose, but it's about the integrity of the elections. And that's why this is truthful, real news on here on Badlands Daily. And that's what I love about it. The important thing is also, they said human error. Tell us, give me the details of how the human error occurred and what happened. Yes. If that comes out, then there's even more. And because I exist, I doubt they'll put the kind of detail out to cover it. Because again, I've got that red bullshit flag, and I'm going to throw it every stinking time. And that's what people need to realize. Question them. Hey, what's the details to this human error? Don't just tell me it's a human error and give me some blasé comments behind it. Give me the detail in the process about how this occurred and why it did that. Then explain to me why they passed logic and accuracy tests.
Yes.
How did that happen? Because again, human error in technology, where stuff is programmed and coded in, is a bold-faced lie. Again, these machines are doing exactly what they're built to do: steal elections, pick who they want, and select them, and that's period. So anyway, so let's Brian, are you running this show? Are you going to move us on?
Yeah, the last thing on this is this post right here was just interesting. This is something Ash and I talked about over a year ago with Dallas Schroeder in Elbert County. He says state law prohibits processing until polls open. The city has repeatedly lobbied to change this because of the volume that they can come in until polls close. The process takes a long time. And it goes on to say, where is it, that they can process the ballots, but they cannot see the results. Where was that part? Tabulation nearly finished, then exporting from a machine.
Such a lie.
Right, exactly. Where is it that here it is? Bipartisan commission and Milwaukee election staff signing off downloaded totals from tabulators. No one can see the votes by candidates, just the total cast. Now, again, this was on the Dominion systems in Colorado, but we know that that's not true on those systems. I would imagine on ES&S, it's probably
Dallas again he's a stand-up individual, a real community servant. You know, he's not a politician. He's a public servant, and I have a lot of respect for him.
Yeah, and just to be clear, when Ash and I did interview him about that scenario, he said, not only can they see the results, they can go back and they can clear it from the logs so that nobody knows that they saw the results by candidate, not totals cast.
Yes.
It's not captured in the log. The logs are figured to not specifically not capture those actions, which in my opinion is evidence of a crime.
Criminal.
Yeah. Criminal. And so what people need to understand is I told this to, because matter of fact, I think we did a podcast from when I was at Tina's trial, right? Yeah, or something. You had me on for right outside. I know the sheriffs didn't like it. Screw them. But the thing was I talked with Dallas after testimony and stuff, and he explained what he did and everything, and I just sort of chuckled, and I put, because everybody needs people run their elections like him and Tina Peters. I'm not going to lie, because he did everything he could to ensure they ran, and I just put my hand on his shoulder and told him, you just don't understand. You did what you could, but it doesn't matter. These machines, you will work around. You know, he tried everything to run it in a secure process to where there's integrity to what went on in his county. And with these machines and the way it is, they can do everything they want to do, but it's not going to work. It's not going to work. And I just have to say that because everybody needs somebody in their county like him and Tina Peters were, you know.
All right, so let's jump into the next story here. So this is coming out of Greene County. The transmitted results are currently contained in an encrypted file that the county staff are unable to access or open for reporting. According to the clerk, the results may not be available until Wednesday. And so let's jump into the actual press release or state, media release that was put out by Greene County. It says Greene County continues to experience a server issue that is impacting the reporting of election results following today's election. Remaining election results have been successfully transmitted from 16 municipalities to the Greene County server. However, Greene County has been informed by its election equipment vendor, Liberty Vote, that the county server and results reporting program are currently not communicating with one another. As a result, the transmitted results are currently contained in encrypted files that county staff are unable to access or open for reporting. And then it says they are working to resolve the issue, continue to contact municipal clerks in an effort to manually obtain and load results this evening. However, a complete set of unofficial results may not be available until Wednesday as municipal clerks bring their physical memory devices to the county clerk's office and results are loaded directly onto the county's election database. Unpack that for us, Clay, because how is that even a thing?
Okay. And at any time, please stop me. Hey,
I'll ask questions.
I'm trying to think. I forget his name. He's an awesome attorney out of Georgia with the DeKalb County case.
Harry McDougal?
Huh? Yes, Harry. Yeah. Hey, keep me in check. Make sure that the audience and everybody can follow. Look, he did it during me to do the demos in the way I did. And luckily, we just went off the video so I could stop and pause. He kept it in check so everybody understood. And that's all I'm asking to do. So in short, what they're doing is, and ES&S does this as well. They have a configuration where they have what's called sort of regional reporting systems, and they have a report manager that would send this back to the main server. Now, the tabulators, if they have communication capabilities, which are not connected to the internet, so
is that facetious? Are you being facetious with that?
Well, yes, I am. So they can also communicate straight back. And so there's different configurations. And here's the thing, because they're supposed to set them up in all these different configurations in the voting system test labs. And so when I read this at first, and too, Brian, because you still have my mind thinking ES&S, I said, oh, this is the regional server setup. And you know how easy it is to do a man in the middle and attack that thing. That was so easy with ES&S. As a matter of fact, that's where they're worse than Dominion. It's a hell of a lot easier to get in between them. So that's the way I read this. Now, here's the thing. Remember what we covered about the encryption keys. And then you talked, and there was the HMAC and all that. And then there's the X509 certificates. So what that is, and again, in the case we showed Colorado, Georgia, a whole boatload of states had the same certificate. So here's my guess. And how they did it, I don't know, because again, off the procedures, you're supposed to check certain things as you configure and upload the tabulator for an election. So this should have been caught. The certificate has obviously been changed on either the tabulator side, where it's deployed in the election from the election event designer, and all the configuration files are done, or it was changed on the server. And that's how you get that trust relationship. And so if they can't get it and they say it's encrypted, I'm taking it's just at the very first step of where the server talks with the clients, and the X509 certificate is the issue. Now, if it's not, then it would follow on to be the actually, symmetric encryption keys that they use. And again, I think, we've covered this in detail. I know I've witnessed to it countless times, that's the fault in these systems, period. The encryption's wrong. And so that's what I see when I read that's what's happened. Now, why? Here's the thing.
Hang on, Clyde, because you had mentioned there the tabulators, and in this press release, it's saying it's the county server and the results reporting program. So would the county server still be the tabulators, or have we left that precinct level and
that's the thing. Let me, because I'll pull it back up on my side.
Here, I can pull it back up if you need to read it on my screen.
Well, see, I can zoom in and read it a little better.
Because you're older than I am. I'll just leave it at that.
Hey, look, I was still dinging them. Hey, open sights at 500 yards when I was in my early 40s, but
they didn't get
computers put me in glasses.
They didn't get ACOGs until
you and your cog.
We didn't have ACOGs in boot camp. We did not have ACOGs in boot camp.
Yeah, but you had them overseas. You didn't.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Yes, we did.
Try open sights, Brian.
I did.
It's a whole lot of breath control, running in a flat jacket. Believe me, I got that T-shirt long before you, brother. I love you, but anyway. And again, he's distracting me, people, from reading. All right. Yeah, they're saying the results reporting program. So I'm thinking it's still part of the system if they're referring to the Dominion reporting system, results reporting. Because, gosh, we have to bring a SIDL and all this other bull crap if we talk about election reporting.
Do you mean to be showing this, Brian? Because you're not showing it.
No, but I can.
Okay.
Yeah. Pull it back up so everybody can see it. So the way I see it is the counties are sending it. Now, if the counties took in the USBs, and this is at the state level, but see, remaining election results have been successfully transmitted from 16 municipalities to the Greene County server. So this is from the municipalities to the county server. Again, Greene County has been informed that the election equipment vendor, county server and results reporting program, not communicating. So it could be the county server and the results program. It's just, this is, from my perspective, not written with enough detail for me to give that. But why would they be requesting that the municipal clerks bring in their physical devices?
Well,
Again,
how much control does Liberty Vote have over this? That the county doesn't have the encryption, the decryption. They can't decrypt these files. Only Liberty Vote can, is what it sounds like here.
The only person, and I know nobody's heard their name in a while, that is worse at this than Dominion is Hart InterCivic.
Interesting.
They control. You have to request passwords and encryption. You can administer an election, but you're not in control. They hold the keys. And I'm only bringing that out because this is exactly what it is. The county has no clue. They're lost on this. They didn't, because they could easily fix this if they had configured and constructed the encryption and the security certificates and everything involved with this process. And they did not.
Well, and the last question on this, Clay, because I know this is kind of new and I dumped this on you before, right? Not too long before we went live. But the last kind of observation I made in this is the second big paragraph. It says Greene County staff are working to resolve the issue. Municipal clerks, they're contacting municipal clerks in an effort to manually obtain and load results this evening. A complete set of unofficial election results may not be available as municipal clerks bring their physical memory devices to the county's clerk's office and results are loaded directly into the county's election database. But wait a second. In Milwaukee, isn't that exactly what they did as the standard operating procedure?
So here's the thing. That description right there tells me they're taking the USBs. Again, this is, I don't want to lose people. This is a regional setup. From everything that the way I'm reading this is they take the tabulator stuff. It goes into a regional reporting center that creates, let's just, the CVR and all that stuff, the election results. And then that would get imported into the final one at the upper county level. So obviously it's a huge county and that's the way the process is. So what they would do is at wherever the regional system is, take those results, right, export them to a stick and take them over to the I'd say central, and then it would be imported into that database there, a manual process. And again, they were obviously doing this over a network prior to, which is, again, with any network, whether you consider it closed, VPN, whatever you want to say, you increase the attack vector 1,000-fold. And so anyway, that's it. And that's my guess. Again, this is, and I know y'all only got what you've got that's been reported out, but this is just poorly, there's not enough, but that's how I read that. If it's not, and they're trying to take individual tabulator once then, well, then that means that just confirms that it's the X509 certificate communication level that's prevented this, and it's not the actual encryption on the drives.
Okay. Clay, we're gonna let you go here, but appreciate you joining us this morning on Why We Vote overtime from last night's show. We're gonna go ahead.
Well, this is important. It's important.
This is very important. This is very important. And again, this is not MAGA. This is not the MAGA. This is not benefiting MAGA in any way, but you have to be nonpartisan in this type of stuff. And elections are the foundation of our country. And without free and fair elections, we don't have a country.
Can I ask one more question before we let him go?
Yes, of course.
Just to summarize for the audience. So the way that I understand this after the discussion that we just had is that the explanation for why we don't have results now, the explanation is a human error involved with the human interaction in the system. The the way that is presenting, there should be a record. If what they're saying is true, there should be a record to prove it. It appears that they have just been caught in a cover up. Do you think, and you know have a lot more insight into where the heads of the feds are on this thing, do you think that there is going to be any further investigation by authorities outside of the state to look at the cover up and prosecute the crime ostensibly, or at least figure out what actually happened and tell the people?
So from the federal level, again, I'm not a Fed anymore. Let's say I still have communication from time to time, as has been requested of me, and so that's where I'll leave it. I can't. I would assume so. Is my best guess based off my previous experience at that level. But again, the deep state is everywhere, and you know, especially there's a reason. Tulsi Gabbard, as director of DNI, was in Georgia in Fulton County for a reason, to ensure that things were done properly, right? And that's because, you know, you've got to make sure that you establish trust and make sure the people that are sworn to their oaths do what they're supposed to do. And I'm just trying to leave it at that, because that's I'm hoping, I know there are good people up there still fighting. I would assume so, because those people, and believe me, I've educated some technical people up in the DC area on election systems and how they function and operate. So I know they have a lot better understanding of looking at this. And so this is, believe me, these two reports were just total BS and cover up. And that's as simple as I can put it. And so the only thing I can say is, again, you know, especially you two with the Why We Vote, you are the only legitimate, truthful conspiracy theorists, because I know hey, it's fun, but I'm being honest, because we truly care about election integrity. We don't care who won, as long as the process is honest.
Correct.
And it's controlled by we the people, and not some third party vendor. And that's the facts. And I can just tell you, this whole thing's wrong. And if I'm asked to investigate or testify on this thing, I guess what? Then I'll be supporting the Democratic Socialist Party or whatever. But again, that's just because ones and zeros to me. It either is or it isn't, right? And probability of. And I can tell you the probability of for these two excuses is bull crap. Yep. And they need more details. And I know you two will be on it. And so thanks for having me, Brian. I want another cup of coffee, considering I didn't get to my other one. Thanks to you.
Clay, where can people find you on X?
Hey, Parikh Clay, man, but please, I would so like to disappear.
Hey, I'm with you. Maybe one day. Maybe one day, brother. Yeah. All right, Clay, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Semper Fi. We'll get you back on Why We Vote here pretty soon, because I'm sure we're going to get more updates on this story as it progresses. So we'll get you back on.
Thanks, Clay.
All right, so there we go. Hey, why am I doing the switcheroo? It's too weird for me.
Well, because I switched us to the shorter one so that the ad wasn't covered, but then it moved everybody around.
Gotcha. All right, let's go ahead and hit a sponsor here, and then we'll get back into the show. We do have a little bit more on the Asawavana side of things, but
let's primary yesterday, so of course we have. That's regular news.
All right, guys, we hear a lot about crypto, but here's the part that most people miss. Crypto was created so you could actually own and control your money. After the 2008 financial crisis, Bitcoin was designed as an alternative to banks. So instead of a bank holding your money, delaying transfers, or limiting access, you are in control. And if you've ever had to wait for a transfer to clear, you felt that problem. Now, fast forward to today, and everybody's heard of crypto, but getting started still feels complicated. That's exactly why I use Rumble Wallet. It takes all that complexity and makes it simple. Choose what you want, whether it's Bitcoin, dollar-backed stable coins, or even digital gold backed by real gold. There's no complicated setup. It connects with MoonPay, so you can use your credit card, debit card, or bank and be up and running in just minutes. Once you're set up, you can even support your favorite Rumble creators like us directly. So do this now. Scan the QR code or click the link in the description and download Rumble Wallet. From there, you can set up your wallet, tap buy, and you're in the game. In just a few minutes, you can go from hearing about crypto to actually owning some. All right. And getting back into the Asa Vana facet of the show, here we go. Darlene Graham wins her primary. Won her primary. Okay, couldn't care less about that. Let's jump into this story here.
So I was sitting here going, why do we care about that?
This is so the bench put this out. Voters have made clear that they're sick of establishment politicians who think seniority is the be all end all of public service. And this is Connecticut's first district. And this is the mayor, I think in Hartford. I think his name's Josh Bronin or John Bronin. But watch this clip here, and then we'll play the secondary clip, which is fascinating.
Congressman Larson has been
you guys don't need it on 1.5 speed. I'm screwing up
in
again.
Congress for 28 years. He's been in elected office for about 50 years. And for the last 10 years or so, I just think he's gotten stuck in a routine. And I understand, it's hard to find anybody who does the same thing for 30 years and doesn't get a little bit stuck in the routine. But this is not a moment that we can keep doing the same thing. You talked for a while with Congressman Larson about his Social Security bill. He's introduced the same bill every year for 12 years. And every year he tells the voters, this is the year it's going to get passed. Even when he was chair of the Social Security subcommittee and Democrats had the White House and the Senate and the House, and his bill didn't even get out of his own committee. So I think it's fair to ask, what is that seniority getting us? And more importantly, this isn't a moment that's about the subcommittee rooms. This is about the movement we need to build outside the walls of the Capitol if we're going to have a chance at fixing this mess, stopping Trump, defeating the MAGA movement, and fixing the big things that are broken in our system.
It's funny. He had me until the end.
Yeah. Well,
he had me until the end.
We've been talking about it for a while. The DSA is the wrecking ball that the left side of the uniparty establishment needs. And it's going to get uncomfortable as they take more share. But that is our opportunity to defeat them on the battlefield of ideas because they're communists. And most Americans aren't communists.
Hang
also,
on, No. I want to get into this discussion, but let me finish up here real quick with this segment. And then that's actually the discussion that I want to carry on to. But this is the guy that he defeated last night, John Larson. And you guys may remember this gem from a couple of years ago.
Don't worry, no one on the Republican side in the House and Senate who control both the House and Senate is going to speak up and challenge us.
Is he having a stroke?
Yes.
Oh, that's sad.
Yes.
Why the hell was he running again?
Exactly.
But we need to protect Americans' privacy and their social security.
And somebody call 911.
And yeah, exactly. Somebody call an ambulance. That's like the opposite of the Joe Biden clip. Remember the famous Joe Biden clip where he like gets like a shot of like, I don't know, something.
Oh,
all these steps will reduce crime and prevent crime from happening in the first place. And my Safer American plan is part of my administration's relentless efforts.
Yes,
they
it
went
is
the
opposite of that.
They went the opposite direction with Larson there.
There was a
also,
period of time where you played that clip like over and over and over again, and it was amazing.
I played that
It
clip.
reminded me of the Ron Paul thing. Remember when
The
Ron
Ron
Paul
Paul
was
thing.
on a podcast and had a stroke?
Oh,
in the middle
yeah.
of the podcast. That's all very sad when it happens, and a reason why we should be considering who's going into the seats. You know, you and I covered the Dianne Feinstein thing back when she was still alive, and the people were like, just say I. And she's like ready to make a speech, and they're like, no, just say I. The Mitch McConnell glitch videos, right? Like it's a real problem that our legislative bodies are essentially memory care wings of nursing homes.
Remember when TMZ asked Feinstein when she came back from her time off, and they asked her like, what was it like when you were away? Like, was everything good? And she's like, what do you mean? I've been here the whole time. He's like, no, Senator, you've been gone for 3 months. She's like, no, I've been here the whole time. And he's like, he doesn't know what to say. Like, he doesn't know what to say. It's same thing with Mitch, the 2 glitches, the fall, and now his mysterious disappearance. Who's the guy from New Jersey that, disappeared for like 56 votes and like for like 6 months. And then he comes back and he's like, I was struggling with addiction. And I'm like, dude, I think it was addiction, wasn't it?
I don't remember, but
depression. It was depression.
A pattern.
It was, but exactly. This is a pattern. Like you're in public service. If you can't do it, if you can't do it, step aside. So
Kay Granger was in a memory care wing in a nursing home, and her team was tweeting for her and putting out communications for her as though she was doing her job. Now, the team, in my opinion, this is like kind of the AutoPen argument, right? The team is the one with the real liability because she's in a memory care wing, but the team is pretending as though she's not, because the team loses their jobs if she goes out of office. That's a personal stake in misleading the American people on the very basic tenet of representation. Nothing happens to them. Nobody gets in trouble for this kind of stuff. They all do it. They all expect to have it done for them when they are still in Congress and have dementia.
Yep. Here's one more clip of Luke Bronin. By the way, I apologize for saying Josh. I was thinking of Josh Brolin, the actor guy. So.
Would you welcome candidates who align themselves with the Democratic Socialist movement?
Look, there are things in that national platform of the DSA that I do not agree with, but what I very much support is a big, open, spirited debate. I want a party that is having, a real competition of visions and voices. That's what we didn't get to have in 2024. That's one of the reasons why I think we're in this mess. And so I'm looking forward, both over these next 2 years, but especially in 2028, to that battle of visions and voices for our party.
So that will segue into the conversation that you were going into. Go ahead.
I think he looks like, pull him back up. You have to play the video, but just pull him back in. Doesn't he look like he'd be a dirty cop in like Law and Order or like NYPD Blue or something? He's got that vibe about him.
Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that.
So something about him. So the DSA is rising all over the country. I wrote about this in the brief this morning, and I write about it, at least once a week in the brief, because we're living it here in my communist country of Colorado. The DSA looks at Zoran Mamdani and AOC to an extent, but really Zoran is the kind of gold standard commie that the DSA here in Colorado wants our state to look like the 5 boroughs of New York City. And so watching him implode has been a lot of fun, but there's no struggle happening to reconcile the ideas, the unimplementable ideas that they have. So in New York, there's a bunch of policies that have just turned out to be embarrassing for the DSA, right? The grocery store requiring ID to buy groceries because everybody is exploiting what they're trying to do with their grocery stores. That's a great example of what will happen with the lion's share of the ideas that are being forwarded by the DSA, because the very foundation of communism requires that it kind of theorizes that with the right system, you can cure human nature. Right. If we can just get the appropriate governance in place, get the right decision makers in place, then everybody's going to act honorably and honestly, and we'll be able to have the government run every aspect of our lives because it'll be us doing it. Right. That's kind of the idea that communism is based on. And then that's the set of platform priorities that the DSA is forwarding. we are seeing them win elections all around the country. And I wrote in the brief this morning, the theory, and I've been talking about this since December. The theory is that the DSA will be the wrecking ball to the Democrat establishment. And then it's America first fighting against communism on the battlefield of ideas. And the theory is that people will say, holy crap, this is crazy. These people are crazy. We don't want to be communists. And they'll make different choices, right? Setting aside that elections are fake in that exchange. The problem is that, and this is my own observation here living in a DSA rising state. The problem is people aren't choosing that. People see people, the DSAs like Malat Quiros. She's a very similar thing to what just happened in Connecticut. 15-term incumbent congresswoman unseated by a very, very well-spoken, articulate. She's attractive, DSA communist, and people are buying it. And that's kind of that's the scary part of this, is that we're going to be fighting on a battlefield of ideas with the aim of winning the hearts and minds of the people. And we've theorized that the people are thinking people. And I'm concerned that that's not actually true.
So I would push back on that and say, are people actually buying it? When you look at, I think people are realizing that they're captured by it. We do have fake elections, and I think that different jurisdictions have different motives for what they do with those elections, and that's why you see. We talked about this a few weeks ago. The influx of people moving to states like Tennessee and Florida and Texas and South Carolina, and these states that are getting, huge. And again, I'm playing the red versus blue, Democrat versus Republican thing, but these are red states that are seeing this, and they're seeing the mass exodus from the quote unquote blue states.
Yeah.
So I would say in that regard, people aren't necessarily buying it. They're realizing that they live in a captured state. And this is why I started with that quote that misery acquaints men with strange bedfellows. I would change misery to tyranny, and to take one away from Shakespeare on that, and change misery to tyranny, and say that this is an opportunity. And this is why I think this story this morning on Wisconsin and what they said there about this hung election, what they said about this hung election is critical, because this is an opportunity for the DSA associates and adjacent Democrats to wake up to what's actually happening and see that this is the same thing that happened in 2020. Take the names out of it. Take Biden and Trump out of it. Take Hung and Crowley out of it, and just look at what's actually taking place. And I do believe that there will come a time, if we get elections cleaned up, and that has to be first and foremost, and that's why I don't care. There is no partisanship in election integrity ever. But that is why, if we can get the elections cleaned up, you will see a further divide of this country, where you have the left going towards the DSA and the right going full-blown America first, MAGA, so to speak. And you're going to see that eventually come around, because when you can control the election apparatus, not control it, but when you have free and fair elections, I should say, eventually that left is going to realize that this shit doesn't work. This doesn't work.
Maybe. But I'm not talking about election results when I say the people are buying it. I want to be real clear about that, because people in the chat also thought I was talking about the outcome of the fake elections as the evidence for people buying it. I'm not. I'm talking about the media landscape. I'm talking about the vibe of the people. Brian, you were in Denver. It's gotten worse, by the way, but you were there in Denver. Malat Quiros is the DSA commie darling that I'm referring to here. She's Denver. She's running to represent Denver, right? The people of Denver are communist. And it's not because of the outcome of the fake election. It's because all of the non-communists have left at this point. I think the majority of them have fled. And you're left with a captured city that's covered in shit and graffiti, that the people that used to patronize the city economy by working in the city, well, post-COVID, those people are working remote, or they've moved to other areas. And so what you have is a seat in Congress that is represented by a dead entity, the city of Denver, effectively, certainly from a Republic standpoint. Like there is the Republic is a bad word to these people. And again, they look at Zoram Mamdani, and I'm not talking about fake election results. I'm talking about their online rhetoric. I'm talking about the thought leadership, the positions and priorities of the consulting firms in that ecosystem, the positions and narratives being forwarded by all of the media in that ecosystem. And I go back and forth because I sort of ride this fence of whether or not it's kayfabe with the DSA. Are they really challenging the Democrat establishment, which is what my hope has been this whole time? Or are they just the brown shirt wing of the right side of the uniparty? And I got to tell you, in watching this season happen, nothing to do with the results, but the behavior of the electorate, the things I experience here going out into, into Denver, the people are much more comfortable with the direction of the communism and want to see how it goes. And why don't we just try it? It was never real communism when it was tried before. Why don't we just try it? The people are a lot more there than I'm comfortable with.
Well, so what you brought up is the DSA really just, is it authentic, or is it just, and I look at, I'm pretty sure, was it AOC that did not endorse Francesca Hung? I'm pretty sure AOC said, no, I'm not endorsing her. She was asked about it.
She's
and
definitely
she did not.
What's AOC?
Who? Yeah. Well, that's my point. Is you see a situation here where you're seeing these DSA members winning all over the place. And then you have the one person that AOC comes out and is like, yeah, I'm not endorsing. I'm DSA. I'm not a national member, but I'm a state member of the DSA party. I am DSA, but I'm not going to endorse Hung in Wisconsin. Well, why? Why are you not endorsing her? And then when you see what happens on election night, where 5 mysterious USB drives go missing and all of a sudden she gets enough votes to get over the threshold, and you've got to be thinking, holy shit, this is 2022 all over again. And again, I don't want this is the hardest part for people. People are like, yeah, but she's DSA, so whatever. No. You guys are thinking purely as partisan, tribalistic buckets and everything else. Get that thinking out of your head.
Yep.
Get that out of your head. This could be a huge ally moving forward in the election integrity. Then we crush them after we get the elections cleaned up. But you need to create a movement first. And this is a perfect opportunity to create that movement, because you have the same thing that happened to us in 2020 in Wisconsin happened to them last night in the outcast of the DSA, the one that nobody in the establishment DSA in DC, AOC, wanted to win. She got the election stolen from her last night.
Yeah.
And that needs to be highlighted.
I completely agree with you. And I think it's the right approach for us, certainly, to continue shining a spotlight. And you and I have been saying since, November 5th, or what was it? 8th of 2024, whatever day election was. The 5th, right? We've been saying that, please challenge the elections, blue people. Right? Blue people that are out there that are upset that Trump won in 2024, the blue anons that are calling for, Elon Musk use lasers to manipulate election results in the machines and all that kind of stuff. We've been saying all along, push that issue. We have your backs. We will bring our experts. We will help you on the left to get to the bottom of what happened in your elections. Same is true about 2026. As Clay said earlier, we don't care who wins. And this is 100% true. We don't care who wins as long as we can verify that it is the accurate representation of the will of the people. We can't, because it's not. Because it's not an election system. It is a system that is designed to defraud the American people and to give the theater, the storytelling that we've had in an election, and you guys choose, right? So why are the people of Denver continuing to vote for all of these communists is the only message that matters in that exchange. And then, the Republicans are fighting the Democrats and the Democrats are fighting the Republicans, and nobody's pointing the finger at the system, because the system is not Democrat or Republican. The system is corporate and global and controlled. And while the people of Denver are, I'm convinced, majority communist, doesn't make their election results real, doesn't make their election results trustworthy. It only highlights the fact that even if, this is why they say you can't vote your way out of communism, right? Even if we had a an election that overturned DSA control of Denver, Democrat control of Denver. If we had a Denver, election where the results flipped, we still couldn't trust that either, because we don't have real elections. And this ambiguity keeps us fighting each other and doesn't actually get us to the point of solving our problems.
Did you see Donna Brazile and Scott Jennings, the clip yesterday about the Tea Party versus the DSA?
Yes.
Oh,
I don't understand how Donna Brazile is still A, allowed to walk down the street after rigging a debate, but B, credible in any exchange with anyone.
But did you see it on Daily, or did you see it on your own?
On Daily, I think.
Damn it. Well, then that means you're probably skewed by my take, at least at a subconscious level, but I know you would never be.
How it works.
I know you would never be consciously skewed by one of my takes. But let me play this, and I want to get your opinion on it.
I've been in this big tent party probably longer than most people, and I can tell you we're having the same kind of growing pains I saw on the Republican side, whether it was through the Tea Party in 2010, the activists who helped to bring about the MAGA movement.
And with all due respect to my friend Donna, there's nothing like, you can't draw any equivalence between the Tea Party movement and the socialists. For one, the Tea Party folks weren't trying to bring about the downfall of Western civilization and the United States of America. Abolish the police, abolish ICE, abolish borders, abolish the Senate, abolish the Constitution. There was nothing like this in the Republican Party. So it's an extreme political ideology that is gaining traction. The Democrat leadership has lost control. They know it. And people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Hong in Wisconsin, Abdul El Sayed in Michigan. You talk about the big tent. The Democrat Jewish Attorney General of Michigan cannot even go to her party's nominating convention because she says, I won't be safe there because of the supporters of Abdul El Sayed.
Okay, so we can stop that there. But my biggest takeaway, I want to focus on the Tea Party versus the DSA and get your take on that, because I think they're the same.
You think the Tea Party and the DSA are the same?
Not in an ideological sense, but in
the role they're playing.
Sense. Yes.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I'm on the fence about whether or not the DSA is real, or if it's, kind of a controlled Overton window kind of situation that's happening by the Uniparty. And just real quickly, the reason that I am, not non-committal on this point about whether or not the DSA is real is in big part because of the Tina Peters thing, because the Democrat Socialists of America claim to be very principled in their pursuit of communism, but they abandoned all of those principles and their platform, like key core platform positions that actually would have won them share of votes in a real election. They abandoned it when it came to Tina Peters. And the DSA as a platform position is not challenging the election system. They're actually defending it the same way that neocon Republicans are, which tells you something, right?
Well, they also haven't been they also haven't been a victim of that platform widespread
Bernie
yet
Sanders.
until
in every primary.
Yeah,
no, I'm sorry. They were before the Tea Party. Like
the Burn Bros. I'm saying in the influx that we're seeing now, especially this election cycle where it's all, coming to a precipice, they have not yet seen that election manipulation like they did last night. That's why I'm hoping that was kind of what tips the scale in that favor. Now, going back to the Tea Party versus the DSA, I'm not speaking ideologically. Obviously, we don't agree. I think there's a lot of things that we could have a discussion about. And I've said this many times. I'm not going to rehash that on the show right now. But, when Scott Jennings comes out and says they're not trying to abolish, DHS and ICE, I am trying to abolish DHS. Absolutely trying to abolish DHS. ICE, not so much. I want them tied into the military, and I want the military to defend the borders. But I don't want DHS. I don't want the FBI. These are not things that were enumerated in the Constitution.
No, they're post 9/11.
They're exactly. This is all. Well, FBI is not technically post 9/11, but it's post progressive. It's post progressive era, right? It's a construct of the Truman, FDR, progressive Reconstruction time frame. The expansion of the bureaucracy through the Green Deal, or the Green New Deal, the New Deal. Through the New Deal, and this is all way outside of the Constitution. So getting back to, a pre-Reconstruction Constitution, as you know, our secret Constitution would call it. But so going back to, and I just kind of lost my train of thought on that.
Well,
No. Here's the point I want to make. So you compared the DSA with the Tina Peters thing to, you know, not agreeing with Tina Peters on the prison reform. We have the same thing in MAGA. We have the same thing in MAGA, where there are topics that, you know, if you're America first, you should be full blown all in on certain things. The Israel stuff right now, the funding to Israel and all that stuff. Sure, our section of MAGA, like most of our audience will be like, yeah, we definitely shouldn't be giving money to Israel. There are people that go out there and say they're MAGA and they scream they're MAGA and they tell us that they're the loudest voices of MAGA ever. And they're like, we need to do everything for Israel. And that's just one example. I'm sure there's a ton of other examples I could come up with, but go ahead.
So I think you misunderstood my point on the Tina Peters thing. It's not that they opposed Tina Peters that made me start to question whether or not they were real. And I always sort of questioned whether or not they were real, right? Because the Democrat establishment has been way too friendly with them for way too long, right? They've kind of nurtured the base. You remember that that meme of like the lady walking a dinosaur and then the dinosaur gets bigger and bigger and then it eats her? Right. Mm-hmm. That's kind of that's the story we're being led through with the DSA and the Democrats. The part that was a mask slip moment for me was the Tina Peters thing. And it wasn't because it was Tina Peters. It was because of two things. One, it was election fraud, and it was like election integrity focused, right? She was a threat to our democracy and a threat to our election system. Well, we had just heard Blue Anons in 2024 talking about how Trump and Musk stole the presidency, right? But when it comes to defending the election system, the DSA was in lockstep and right on the talking points with, again, not just, if you said that they were on the talking points with the Democrat establishment, I'd be like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like, that makes sense. They were on the talking points with neocon Republicans, and that the DSA and the neocon Republican establishment forwarding the same message was flag one. But flag two is bigger. Flag two is prison reform. Prison reform is their core platform, criminal justice reform and prison reform. And that was a moment. If they were truly a political movement that was trying to make change politically, the smart play would have been to break from the Democrats and the Republicans on the issue of prison reform and to garner that middle support. They would have won support from regular normie people if they had only been principled. They didn't have to come out and support Tina Peters. They had to oppose what the state was saying was appropriate for Tina Peters. And they didn't do that. And again, this is the second area where they were forwarding the talking points of neocon Republicans. And that is like that for me, that was, you could see the uniparty working together, and the DSA was a part of it. The last thing I'll say is this. The Tea Party was an organic movement. Now, there were, entities and NGOs that were driving, but the on the ground Tea Party, I was in my 20s during this. I was dragging the boys, as toddlers. And I took a bus to Washington, D.C. while I was pregnant with Daniel to march against Obamacare. The people involved, the Tea Party was the precursor to MAGA. The Republican Party threw the Tea Party under the bus, backed over them, and then lit them on fire. And out of those ashes, MAGA was born. I don't think there's anything like that. That is the authenticity of that. I don't think that exists for the DSA.
I disagree. I can't say I disagree. I don't know that we are in touch enough with the DSA to know whether or not there's a grassroots level to it. And the only thing I can point at is their repudiation of Hong in Wisconsin that would suggest that, and then followed that up with this as a secondary piece of evidence, stealing the election like they did last night. That's the only thing I would push back on that. And again, I think you're absolutely right that the DSA is a captured entity. I think a lot of MAGA is a captured entity. There's a ton of MAGA. I mean, I can go and look through some of these major talk shows that are getting 50, 60, 70,000 viewers, live. And you guys can figure out who I'm talking about. That's a captured entity. That is somebody, whether or not it's pushing a narrative, whatever the case might be. they are talking along the lines of establishment and putting like a little bit of a sprinkle of MAGA, America First, constitutionalist over it. And yeah, that's the only thing I would land that on. Let's go ahead and jump into got a couple more election stories. So from Indy Star, Trump-backed challenger wins Senate race after recount flips results. Did you see this story? This was from Tuesday, from Monday, but I didn't have it. I didn't have time yesterday, but an incumbent state senator lost his race after a high-stakes recount threw out several ballots, leading his Trump-backed challenger to claim victory. When have we ever seen that? When have we ever seen the Trump-endorsed guy winning in one of these contested elections? The three-person commission, which includes Republican Secretary of State Diego Morales, certified that Paula Copenhaver won the primary by 3 votes. By 3 votes.
I love it when that happens.
Right? Defeating State Senator Spencer Deary. After the May 5th primary, Deary narrowly won by 3 votes. However, 4 months later, the opposing campaign of Paula Copenhaver was successful in rejecting 8 votes cast by Deary, largely due to a missing initials and stamps. Oh man, if that's the bar that you have to cross to get ballots thrown out, how the hell did 2020 not get overturned from all the signatures that were missing and the signature verifications that weren't done? They have a low bar in Indianapolis.
Yeah, I mean, it was a cover-up. That's how it was covered up. It was a whole of government cover-up. Indiana elections are not really talked about all that much, but last night we were talking about Georgia. We had the Georgia Nerds, Kim from Georgia Nerds on. She was talking about a second set of books in voter registration, and that the second set of books in voter registration is being used to, fill the voids and whatnot. The first time that I ever heard about a second set of books in voter registration was Indiana. So Indiana elections, and specifically their use of knowing some of the behavior. It was all anecdotal, and Sean Smith and I talked to the people a little bit in it, but we didn't have enough information to take it anywhere. But it was some of the behavior that was happening in the system on election day when it was checking people in on the poll pads, and they were knowing poll pads. Similar to what Kim was talking about last night in terms of the addresses were similar, the names were similar, the voter registration IDs seemed to be pulling from somewhere that didn't exist in any public file. And the theory was that the knowing poll pads had, and again, it was a theory and we didn't prove it, but the theory was that the knowing poll pads were pulling from a separate database of voters, that they maybe had a cloned master database that was what was used to be checking people in. I don't know whatever happened with that, but last night when we were talking to Kim, it reminded me of that. And so hearing that Indianapolis is under the microscope in elections, about time.
Yeah. So another quick story, House Judiciary GOP, Jim Jordan, Brian Stile, and Congressman JVD, Jeff Van Drew, and Laurel Lee have sent a letter demanding IDEMA, that's the IDEMIA, that's the New Jersey company that was running the software for the motor voter and the 6,600 voter thing. Here's a thing I didn't catch on this, Ash. Did you know that? So this is from the letter. IDEMIA has refuted Governor Sherrill's claims that the software error was the cause of the improper voter registration, instead blaming the New Jersey state agencies. As IDEMIA explained, quote, all 6,600 individuals had indicated yes to wanting to register to vote and no to being a U.S. citizen. Now, that's the first time that I've heard that they were asked, do you want to vote? And are you a citizen? Why are you asking both of those questions? It should be first, are you a citizen? And if you check yes, then it goes to, it sub prompts you, do you want to register to vote? And so if it says no, it doesn't even ask you that because you don't have a right to vote.
Right.
So that's the first time I've heard that. The House Judiciary is demanding every document and communication concerning the alleged software error, its discovery, and any resulting investigation. The protocols for accurately collecting and transmitting voter registration information to New Jersey agencies, the company's procedures for complying with federal voting laws, and communications between IDEMIA employees and New Jersey officials about the Motor Vehicle Commission voter registration system, including warnings, discovery of the problem, proposed fixes, and remediation. So are we going to get answers? Probably not, but at least they're doing the dog and pony show thing about it.
I do think that is one of the most exciting things that has happened this entire cycle, is that we found out that a bunch of illegals voted in New Jersey, and the governor's like, it was a software error, and the software company's like, no, it wasn't.
Yeah,
I don't the most
know.
exciting thing we've seen in a while. I hope it follows all the way through and that we get answers, but you're probably right, we won't.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that's the most exciting. I
This
think
cycle?
Oh, dude.
What's more exciting?
Last night, coming out and saying that 5 USB sticks were missing the files, when you understand how fundamentally retarded that sounds to say that, and then you compare it to 2020 when they said almost the same thing, they had to go back and get them. Yeah, that to me, that's pretty exciting. Now, granted, that's still preliminary, right? We're just at the surface level of that. The IDEMA, MIA. It's more. I think it's more ironic, and I think
it's a proven breach, right? So you've proven
right.
that there are unlawful votes involved, and now they're just trying to tell an appropriate story to where that doesn't go off the rails. Versus last night, they're still investigating.
It's definitely the best dish served cold, having to see Cheryl come out and say that publicly. That I will give you. Like, that is the best eat crow moment that we've had so far. You know, I'm with you on that.
Well, yeah, but also the vendors and the states being in an oppositional posture. That's what I'm referring to as the most exciting thing, because if that public-private partnership of pinky promises of trust to the American people fractures, that's where I think we start to see a lot of exposure and disclosure, and it'll be coming from whistleblowers. It'll be coming from people within that ecosystem if they start turning on each other. And I think that would be a fantastic thing. Here for it.
All right, from Reuters, judge blocks U.S. Postal Service from restricting mail-in voting. This is an update on the Trump executive order. A federal judge in Boston, this is Indira Talwani in Boston, marked the latest setback for Trump's push to expand the federal government's role in overseeing elections. I love the way Reuters says that, by the way, to expand the federal government's role in overseeing elections. You're literally using the federal government to ship ballots. You're not expanding the role. You're just putting checks and balances on the expansion of the role. If you don't like the federal government expanding its role in how elections are run, get your own fucking mail delivery system.
Oh, shit. Now we can't share the show, Brian.
Oh, we can share the show. Get your own mail delivery system if you don't like how that works. The federal government runs the Postal Service, all right? The executive order called on states to provide lists of eligible voters who may receive ballots. If states did not comply, the U.S. Postal Service would have refused to deliver the ballots. Shocker, right? Crazy how that would work. By the way, that's another avenue, like Marquane Mullins or whoever the U.S. Postal Inspection Service postmaster is, should come out and be like, hey, if we send a fraudulent mail ballot to a non-citizen or somebody that's not eligible to vote, you are committing mail fraud, and we are going to prosecute you for federal offenses. Yes. And we're not doing it on us. We're not going to be the ones checking it. You're not sending us the voter files for us to do our due diligence, so it's going to fall on you. So if you compel us or push us to illegally mail a ballot to somebody that does not get it, we are coming after you with mail fraud. That's what they should do. That's what they should do.
I love it. I think we will there will be challenges. I mean, there already are, but there will be additional challenges to that, because the plausible deniability of human error is such a big part of the system, right? To be able to say, oh, it was just an accident. We didn't mean it. Every single time, like this thing with the USB drives in Wisconsin, there is no, like as Clay laid out, there's no plausible answer for how that could be the story, right? Oh, it was a human error. The human accidentally downloaded the logs instead of the results. But hearing Clay explain it, that would actually result in a number of errors in the system that would ostensibly be captured by the logs, right? And you would have probably communication evidence as well of the staffer calling the vendor and, hey, what is going on here? Why can't we get these results downloaded to these sticks or whatever? We don't see any of that. We don't hear any of that. We're just told human error. If it really is human error and that's what happened, they should be able to produce the record of in the moment that's what happened. We're just being told that it was human error, nothing to see here. But give us a couple days and we'll get you guys your results. We're just going to take them off in this back room site. And no, there's no cameras and you can't watch. I think she did say that bipartisan people could watch. But again, what are you watching? You're watching your credit card, hoping to catch credit card fraud. And that's the example. And I think that's a really good way to get in your heads how ridiculous it is to think that bipartisan poll watchers watching the election are going to catch fraud in the counts, because nobody watches the counts. Nobody's able to observe the counts. It happens in the code.
Going back to this story here, the decision from Talwani, the big problem here, and this is the big expansion that she's making, and this is crazy right here. Talwani's decision effectively expanded an earlier order that she issued in June from implementing it in 23 mostly Democratic-led states. These were the 23 states that sued. The ACLU asked the judge to go further and bar the Postal Service altogether from implementing the order anywhere in the nation. In granting the plaintiff's request, Talwani wrote that the executive branch of the federal government had no authority to regulate elections, a responsibility that the U.S. Constitution assigns to individual states. Like I said, go get your own postal service then. Take your ball and go home, federal government.
They're not allowed to, are they?
Sure they can. Take your ball and go home. If you're not going to tell me who I have to send a ballot to, I'm not sending them to everybody. That's a violation of the law. If you want to violate the law, sure, we're going to prosecute you for it. Quote, the executive order is presently causing confusion and threatening both increasing chaos and an erosion of the trust in our democracy. Enfranchisement heavily outweighs the executive's attempt to unconstitutionally insert itself into the domain of election regulation, is what she wrote. Now, this is, again, we saw Burroughs, right, in the TPS case, Judge Burroughs with the Somalians go against the Supreme Court in Mullins versus Doe. This right here is going against I think it's the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals that said that this is not ripe yet and it will go on. She is now saying, no, it's not going to go on. We're stopping it right now in all 50 states, not just in the 23 states under her jurisdiction or in the lawsuit.
Is this court in the Fifth Circuit?
No, Massachusetts, I think, is the first circuit.
That's the first. Yeah. So they're not bound by Fifth Circuit precedent.
But you can't jump over the Fifth Circuit and issue it to all 50 states. You can't.
No, fair. That's a fair point. Yeah, but she doesn't. I thought we already dealt with that with Boasberg.
No. So I this is why I had said I'm very okay with how it's lining right now, because you have the 23 states that won't comply with the executive order, and then 27 states that will. Let's see how they differentiate in terms of the status quo, Republican versus Democrat, in those particular two factions of the states. But now that judge is like, no, we're going to do it for all 50 states, and screw you, Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. I, as a federal district court judge, have more authority and more power than you do. And that's going to get the pee-pee slap, man.
Yeah, I agree it will. But didn't we already deal with the nationwide injunction? The district courts don't have the right to do nationwide injunctions. I thought we dealt with that at the Supreme Court already after the Boasberg immigration stuff.
Yep.
So yeah, so there should be a smack, and we got to start removing these judges. We've got to start impeaching judges that are openly defying the controlling precedents and specifically the decisions of the Supreme Court. If there are district court judges that are defying recent Supreme Court precedent in their rulings, they should be prime candidates to be impeached. Let's see if the illegitimate Congress can actually do something. They would win back some of my I still wouldn't think they were real, but they would win back some of my support if they started impeaching federal judges.
Yep. Okay,
that
let's move
whole
on.
Thing needs to be reformed.
Running out of time here. It appears President Trump is confirming the catering truck story.
President, can you tell us us about your ride on the airport catering truck in Turkey. Why did you need to do that?
Well, it's only up to Secret Service. I just follow what they'd like to do. So I go by Secret Service and the military. They wanted me to go on a different flight, a different plane, equal safety, but they wanted me to do it, so I do it. I do what they say.
Why did they want you to do that?
I guess there was a threat out there. I didn't really ask them much about it. I get a lot of threats.
Why was it too dangerous for you to fly on Air Force One, but
Well,
not
I don't
too
know.
dangerous
I
for the
think
press?
actually the plane that I flew on was at greater risk.
Why
I
do
think
you
it was
say
at greater
that?
risk because that would be the plane I think that they would be more likely to go for.
President, can you tell us?
I love it. Why is it too dangerous for you to fly, but not for the press? Well, one, he's the president. So if there's a threat on his life and they need to use you guys as decoys, that's what we're doing. Because that's how it works.
So to that point right there, I saw this story this morning. Troopers investigating bomb threat at McDonald's near scheduled Trump visit in Northeast Ohio. Well, why are the troopers investigating that when there's a bomb threat?
Yeah.
Why are they putting themselves at risk for that? Why isn't Trump investigating that?
Well,
That's my
why-
point. It's so
why
stupid.
wouldn't that be a federal authority investigating it anyway if there was a
Well,
bomb
no.
threat?
Well, like the one in because they do pre-scans before the Secret Service comes in and does like a wrap up on it. But my point is it's very tongue in cheek. Okay, we understand why law enforcement is doing what they're doing. We also understand that when the press flies on Air Force One, they realize they're flying with probably the most hated man in the entire world outside of his political party, right? And our maybe not even our allies, but they understand every single time they get on Air Force One that there's people that want to kill the man that's on board with him, and that is the safest plane in the entire world. And this whole thing is absolutely absurd. I said this yesterday on the show that coming out and disclosing this, there's no news value to this story whatsoever. There is no, and that's why they're trying to make this.
I disagree with that.
No, that's why they're trying to make the press thing such a big story, because there is no story behind it other than a high-ranking official that has extremely classified information, leaked it to a reporter, and compromised the safety of the president and exposed operating procedures. And I don't even want to say standard operating procedures that are classified at the highest level. That is not a story. Corruption is a story. If President Trump did something that we would disapprove of, whatever, that's a story. This is his safety. And like I said yesterday, this is something that if he does get taken out by a foreign actor like Iran, that is going to start a war that we may never have seen the likes of in the past.
Yeah, I mean, I'm less concerned about the president being harmed by a foreign threat than I am the president being harmed by a domestic threat, because the domestic actors are they're terrifying in a lot of ways, and very well networked and coordinated in the institutions and outside of the institutions, public-private partnerships throughout our nation, very committed to the vision that they had for this country, the globalist vision that they had for this country that the president is dismantling. And so I think that the domestic threats are much greater threat to the president than the foreign ones. But I think that the press wants us to focus on the foreign threats so that we don't look at the domestic threats, because in my opinion, based on the information available, they're part of the biggest threats to the president. But at the end of the day, the president is the principal protectee of every law enforcement entity on that plane, beginning with the Secret Service, but anybody else that's there. I think it was EC in the chat that said, if you can't accept the risk of traveling with the president, then stay home, because that's the job. And no, it doesn't mean that you're always going to be protected, especially when we've seen such subversive action by the press to harm this president. It is not surprising that they wouldn't be brought with him if the Secret Service was taking the president out of need for his safety. And again, if we need to use the press as a decoy to protect the president, I think everybody in the United States of America, save for the Trump deranged mentally ill people, everybody in the United States of America would be okay with that on principle, the principle of protecting the president because he is the principal of our nation.
Okay, so I still don't believe this story. I still don't
That's
think
fine.
that this.
Yeah, no, I don't necessarily either. You think it's a canary trap, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely, and it's at the highest level. And
You've been right on that before. So
I've
inclined
called
to
the
agree
Frank Kendall one. I called the
Mhm.
Frank Kendall one. This story is absolutely absurd, and they're trying to spin it now so that there is some sort of news value, and that's why they're saying, "Well, you put the press at risk." No, the press is at risk every single time. When they went to the White House Correspondents' Dinner and they were shooting outside, the Secret Service didn't come and cover up the press. They covered the president and got him the fuck out of there. They didn't give a crap what happened to the press. Sure, they wanted to get the threat out because that's what law enforcement does, but they had no concern for the safety of the press in there outside of just eliminating the threat. They had direct concern for President Trump, whether it's, the shooting going on, whether it's something following out there, a follow-up threat. His whole corridor is cleared everywhere he goes. There's contingencies for him. The press, you guys are just along for the ride, and you understand that going into that. You totally
What about
understand
me? We
Right,
could have
exactly.
been shot down. Well,
But
we all
that's
make
why
sacrifices.
that's why they're trying to spin this so that there is a story behind it, because otherwise, what that Lamont guy disclosed, he should not have been disclosing that publicly. He should have been disclosing that to the White House, that, hey, somebody came here and leaked this to me, that you got on a catering truck and flew on a different plane. And now if I go public with this, people are going to know how the president responds to a threat like this. If there is a threat against his aircraft, what is he going to do? He's going to sneak out. So every vehicle now around Air Force One is going to be watched by any bad actors to see, hey, did somebody get into that car that wasn't supposed to get into that car? Now, I'm not saying that this wouldn't have been happening anyways, but you're just exposing operating procedures that don't need to be exposed and that were classified at the highest level. So that's why I say there's probably only 3 or 4 people that knew. If this is a real story, there's probably only 3 or 4 people that knew this happened, and somebody is going to be fired. It's going to be another very high-ranking official. This person might be prosecuted.
The journalist or the official that
The
leaked it?
official. The
Yeah.
official.
Yeah, no,
The
I think
journalist won't be prosecuted. And to be clear, hold on, one last thing, Ash. Lamont did not do anything bad. Well, he did do something bad. He didn't do anything illegal, but what he did was dumb. It was fundamentally stupid, and it was somebody that's trying to get clicks or likes. That's the comparison right there, is getting clicks or likes over putting something out that's absurdly dangerous to our country.
Yeah, so I agree with you that he didn't do anything wrong, and Supreme Court precedent also agrees with you that journalists are able to report. It might not be ethical, it might not be in the best interest of the nation, but from a rights standpoint, they are able to report government information that is provided to them. As for the theory, whether this story is real versus whether it was a canary trap and it didn't happen or some variation of it happened, I think that there's a higher likelihood that you're correct than that the story is real as reported. But the president kind of gave us that inkling a little bit in his vibe and his comments about it. But I think that holding the leakers inside of the administration accountable has to be a top priority, particularly when we're talking about, like you said, the what do you call those, contingency plans, I guess, for the president's safety in certain moments when you're revealing secrets about that. And like you said, nobody would have known that this happened except that it was ostensibly leaked by a high-ranking official. I agree with you. That person should be outed and exposed, and they should be prosecuted.
Yep. I just want to play this clip real quick. Not too much comment on it. Just one thing I want to add at the end of this. MS Now is, again, just like the worst of the worst. Lawrence O'Donnell.
Oh.
And the thing I want most in the world upon hearing that news is to hear Lawrence
This is, by the way, this is the news that Trump got in the catering truck.
O'Donnell explain it to me. And God bless you, Lawrence. Please tell me that you will.
It is issue number 1 in this hour of coverage. We're going to be relying on the Washington Post that broke the story a couple hours before the New York Times, and it's one of the many examples of how Donald Trump has lost control. He didn't just lose control of which version of Air Force One he got to use. He lost complete control in this story.
So that's what it's about, that he lost control because there's allegedly an assassination. By the way, Clinton did the
Doesn't
same
sound
thing.
like he lost control. Sounds like he got out of there, and the press is big mad that they were the ones in the target range of the threat.
Clinton
Sounds
did the
like he
same
was
thing.
very in control.
I want to just real quick, Ash, I want to cover two things because they're and we're running out of time. So they're the last two things I want to cover.
That's
and
Brian's way of
saved-
telling me not to talk for the next 7 minutes.
No, not necessarily. Just don't go all burning bright on me or Ash in America, AA, BB, CC. That's pretty cool. You know that we have like AA, BB, and CC.
Yeah.
Ash in America, Burning Bright, Canncon. Do we have a DD? We need to give Drake. We need to give John Drake a D for the Drake. Senator
Give
Rand Paul.
John Drake the D is what Brian just said.
Another D. He needs another D. He needs another. Senator Rand Paul said, I visited Fort Knox today. The dollar has lost 97% of its purchasing power since the Fed opened in 1913. $100 then is worth over $3,300 today. This is no accident. Congress spends without limit. While the Fed prints the difference. And they go on to find out, we have now more confirmation that there's 147 million ounces of gold in Fort Knox, allegedly. That would make $588 billion in Fort Knox, which is about I don't know, what is it, like 1/500th of the money in circulation? Don't they say there's like 200? How much money do they say is in circulation? US dollars. I don't know.
Is anybody actually tracking that?
I don't know. Maybe it's on here. Does
And
it say
whatever
here?
whatever number is being reported, I don't believe it.
U.S. national debt. U.S. national debt's almost at 40 trillion. Did you see what the U.S. debt clock did? Have you seen this yet?
No. What am I looking at?
Oh man, Colonel Towner posted this, and I was like, "Oh my god, I gotta duplicate this." So if you go up here to the top right and click "Open, Close, Secret Window,"
oh,
look what pops up. USA Treasury dollar dominance. Trump says, "Oh, executive order alchemy. What will happen when we introduce the new 100% asset-backed Treasury dollar?" To which Plato responds. Yeah, Plato. I don't know why I said Caesar. All other debt-based fiat currencies around the world will instantly become worthless. Pretty interesting.
Well, yeah, especially because G-Money's out there ranting about Bitcoin-backed banks today.
Yeah, let's go. And then the last story I want to talk about, we could probably make this quick. You probably already know this story pretty well. From the Denver Post. Lauren Boebert's son faces felony charges over sex tape with 17-year-old court records show. Have you heard this story yet?
I have not.
Oh, so let's go.
He was 8 and she was 17.
Yeah, it's not as bad as it sounds. So hold on, just hear me out here. Boebert's son was arrested over the weekend on 3 felony charges related to sexual exploitation of a child in connection with a 43-second video that he created in which he had sex with a 17-year-old girl when he was 18.
Yeah.
The charges stem from a video that investigators allege Tyler Boebert filmed himself having sex with a girl he was dating in February of 2024. The girl was weeks away from turning 18. The video was later posted on an anonymous Instagram account, along with other videos depicting child sexual abuse material. According to the affidavit, the document indicates that at least 6 other people, including at least 4 juveniles, may have committed crimes in connection with the material published on the Instagram account. I don't know that he's the one that posted it. It's kind of sounding like, it's kind of sounding like somebody either hacked him or somebody, was able to get their hands on this and posted it, attributing it to him, got him arrested for it. Now we get into the whole issue of, she was 17, he was 18. Technically she's, under 18. So I get that. First and foremost, like full disclaimer to anybody out there, do not record yourself having sex.
Yeah. Or
what are you guys thinking?
Crimes, or the kids today will just they'll record. They will record. Can you imagine? Can you imagine being a teenager and running around recording yourself doing all the things that you did when you were a teenager? I can't imagine. It is toxic. But Definitely don't record yourself having sex. It doesn't sound like he's in trouble for the sex itself, but in conjunction with the video, right?
Yeah.
So the 18-17, the statutory rape thing, that 18 to 17 statutory rape is crazy. That's bananas. If we're talking about statutory rape and not rape, right? 18-17. I don't understand why any prosecutor would bring that, but this is in connection with that video. If the girl had her, assuming it's a girl, had her identity released and put on Instagram, I'm sympathetic to her having recourse for that. But the press will jump on anything to take Lauren Boebert and smear her family and her kids and everything. And I mean, I'm Patriot Barbie. I've been heavily critical of my congresswoman for a very long time, even before she was my congresswoman, when she was someone else's congresswoman and then airdropped in to my district. I've been very critical of her, but you will not hear me dunk on her for the movie theater thing or for her son getting a girl pregnant or for this thing, because they will take anything that they can about Lauren Boebert and spin it into some salacious sexual story to try and harm her. And she is, the last time that she ran in this district, it was the tightest the district has been between Democrats and Republicans in as long as I can remember. And she's up for re-election. And there's, a real push by the Democrats to get Elaine Laubacher, I think her name is, elected instead of Lauren Boebert. So, yeah, it's a shame.
Meanwhile, your state, meanwhile, your state is trying to make like actual rape of a child, like a 2-year. Yeah. So they're trying to eliminate the age of consent entirely so that they can have sex with kids here. So it's crazy that they would make the statutory rape thing of Lauren Boebert with Lauren Boebert's son such a big deal. Well, it's the material. It's not there is no, like, the crime is not the actual act itself of having sex with the 17-year-old. It's publishing a video, which he doesn't seem to have published. It doesn't seem like
they're not saying that, right?
Right. So it sounds like there might have been a revenge porn aspect to this, but again, I don't know. Either way, I think this is a story that is very, very hypocritical of Colorado to be focusing on. So, all right. On that note, guys, I don't have the rants. Did you? I don't think there were any rants.
There aren't any.
I didn't think there were.
There was a Jules over on YouTube. See if I still have that pulled up. Vernon Bird 7551 gave us 200 joules and said jammin'. Thank you so much.
Right.
We appreciate you.
Thank you. Smash that thumbs up over there on YouTube.
Please.
Smash the thumbs up here on Rumble as well. Wherever you're watching, hit that thumbs up. Thank you guys all so much for tuning in. It's Wednesday, so we've got Ship is on tonight. We got Space Revolution with General Quast. We've got DPH at
the Devolution Power Hour. Yeah.
The Devolution Power Hour, 10:30. And I think that's it.
Yeah, I'll be back tomorrow for first The Choice at 9 a.m. and then Book Club, Bad Mood Hour, where what are we in chapter 11? Oh, we're starting section 2, chapter 11 tomorrow of The Creature from Jekyll Island. So come hang out and get really angry with us. And then, then everything seems better after we're done with the Bad Mood Hour. Sort of.
Yes, we'll also probably talk more about the Fed, the gold, and the Rand Paul thing as well. But we just ran out of time today. So thank you guys all so much for tuning in. All shows are why we vote now. Thank you to Clay.
And the
Parikh.
Daily Herald is next at 1 p.m.
Yes. Thank you to Clay Parikh for joining us, and we'll see you guys later.
Bye, guys.
Oh, tattoo teacher last minute. Appreciate what you both do with a $20 rant. Thanks, you so much.
Kat. Love you.